The human, named Ethan, had never seen a world like this. The sky was pale green and two suns hovered far apart, giving soft, golden light across the crystal-clear rivers and floating islands. He had arrived here with a small spacecraft, carrying advanced medical equipment and tools that Earth had perfected over centuries. Ethan was a healer but also a thinker. He solved problems in ways few could imagine. The alien princess, Lyria, watched from her palace balcony. She could move only slowly with a walker, her legs weak and swollen from an unknown condition. Her people had tried everything. Their healers had used strange machines, alien medicines, and even spells. But nothing worked. The palace council had lost hope. Yet when they heard of the human, they agreed to bring him to the princess. Ethan was nervous, but determined. He stepped into the grand palace hall, where tall, shimmering walls reflected the soft light. Lyria sat on a platform, her golden eyes curious but guarded. Her long silver hair sparkled like starlight. Around her, attendants whispered quietly, watching every move Ethan made. "Your Highness," Ethan said with a polite bow, "I have come to help you walk again." Lyria tilted her head. "I have seen many try, many fail," she said softly. Her voice was melodic but carried a weight of sadness. "Why should you be different?" Ethan smiled gently. "Because I don't rely on magic or old ways. I study the body, the mind, and the small details others often miss. If we work together, I believe we can find a solution." For the first time, Lyria felt a spark of hope. "Then show me." The next hours were filled with careful examination. Ethan checked her legs, her muscles, her joints, and even the flow of energy in her body, a natural force the aliens called life wave. He noted how the swelling changed with movement and pressure. He asked questions about her diet, sleep, and past treatments. The palace healers watched, taking notes. "It is not just a simple swelling," Ethan said finally. "Your muscles have weakened because they were not used for a long time. The life wave imbalance makes it worse. But if we restore strength and balance slowly, you can walk again." Lyria's eyes widened. "Walk, like before?" "Yes," Ethan replied. "Not instantly. It will take time, patience, and training. But I promise, we will try everything possible." Over the next days, Ethan worked tirelessly. He designed a set of lightweight exoskeleton braces to support her legs, crafted with soft metals and adaptive technology. The braces allowed her muscles to work without strain. He also created a small floating device that gently stimulated her life wave, encouraging circulation and healing. The first time Lyria tried to stand, she trembled. Her legs felt heavy, almost like lead. She feared falling, but Ethan held her steady. "Take it slow," he said. "One step at a time. Trust your body." She nodded. The exoskeleton hummed softly as she moved her legs. Slowly, painfully, she shifted her weight and took a single step, then another, and another. The palace erupted in quiet astonishment. The attendants gasped and some shed tears. Lyria's face lit up with a mixture of surprise and joy. She had not felt such freedom in years. "This is amazing," she whispered. I never thought it would be possible." Ethan smiled, adjusting the braces. "Your body is stronger than you know. With patience and training, soon you will walk without support." The next weeks were filled with exercises, each day pushing Lyria a little further. Ethan guided her through balance, routines, muscle strengthening, and life wave control. She fell sometimes, but Ethan was always there to catch her. Slowly, she began walking without the walker. Then, for short distances, she walked without the exoskeleton. One afternoon, Lyria stood at the palace balcony, looking over the floating rivers and islands. The wind touched her face and she felt the full weight of her own strength. She turned to Ethan. "You brought me back," she said softly. "Not just to walk, but to hope again. I don't know how to thank you." Ethan shook his head. "No thanks needed. Seeing you stand, seeing you try, that is enough for me." Humans learn from helping just as we learn from everything we see. Lyria smiled. Humans are different from my people. Brave, patient, clever. Ethan chuckled. And stubborn too, he added lightly, making her laugh. It was the first time she had laughed freely in months. But not everything was simple. Lyria's kingdom had enemies, jealous planets watching her recovery. Some viewed a human healer as a threat. Rumors spread that the princess had gained a strange power from the human, and spies moved in the shadows. Lyria knew that her regained strength might soon be tested, not just by her own body but by the universe itself. One evening, Ethan sat with her in the palace garden, where alien flowers glowed softly in the moonlight. You have done more than heal me, Lyria said quietly. You taught me to trust again, to move forward even when fear is strong. Ethan nodded. And you have taught me something too. Humans are small in the universe, but with heart and mind we can make a difference anywhere. Suddenly, a messenger arrived. The alien's armor clinked as he bowed deeply. Your Highness, the neighboring star system demands your attention. They say they will not accept a human in your court. Lyria frowned. She had walked again, but the universe had already noticed. Challenges awaited, and she would have to face them. But now she knew she was not alone. With a human by her side, perhaps no obstacle was too great. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will face them together, he said firmly, step by step, as we did before. Lyria's eyes glimmered with determination. She had walked again, but now she would also fight again. Not with weapons, but with courage, intelligence, and the new bond she shared with a human who had crossed stars to help her. The palace lights reflected off her shining eyes, and for the first time in a long while, she felt ready for the universe. Not as a weak princess, but as a leader reborn. The next morning, the palace was unusually quiet. The two suns rose slowly over the floating islands, casting long golden shadows across the gardens. Princess Lyria stood at the balcony, her legs strong and steady now, though she still felt the faint ache of recent training. She watched the skies, her mind full of questions. The message from the neighboring star system had unsettled her. They were jealous of her recovery, suspicious of the human by her side. Ethan joined her, carrying a small tray of alien fruits. He offered her a piece, smiling as he watched her eyes brighten at the strange, sweet taste. Are you ready for today? He asked gently. Lyria nodded. I must meet with the council. They will decide how to respond to the neighboring systems' threats, and I will face them on my own legs this time. Ethan's smile widened. Then let's show them what determination can do. The palace council chamber was vast, with walls made of translucent crystal. Council members sat in high seats, their faces serious. Many had not expected Lyria to walk again so soon. When she entered, supported by her newfound confidence rather than a walker, murmurs ran through the chamber. Your Highness, the head counselor said, bowing deeply. We did not think this possible. Your legs, you have recovered. Lyria lifted her chin. I have recovered enough to stand for my kingdom and make decisions for our future, but I cannot do this alone. She gestured to Ethan, who stepped forward calmly. This human has crossed the stars to help me. His knowledge, his skill, it is part of my strength now. Some council members frowned. Not all trusted humans, especially one who had arrived so suddenly. Whispers spread like wildfire. A few openly questioned, can we trust an outsider? Ethan spoke up, his voice steady and calm. I do not seek power or influence. I came only to help. Your princess is strong, intelligent, and capable. My role is to support her, not control her. Lyria smiled at him. And that is why I trust him. Now we must focus on what matters, our safety and our people's future. The council began discussing the neighboring star system's threats. They had sent diplomats with harsh demands, claiming that humans had no place in alien courts and that any alliance with Earth would be a violation of interstellar treaties. Lyria listened carefully. Her mind worked quickly, analyzing every possibility. She could act alone, but Ethan's presence gave her a new perspective. Together, they devised a plan. First, they would send a delegation of trusted advisors to negotiate, while secretly preparing the palace defenses. Humans had ways to strengthen technology and security in unexpected ways, and Ethan had already begun modifying the palace's energy shields. Later that day, as Ethan tested the shield enhancements, Lyria watched him closely. She marveled at how humans could see small problems and solve them quickly. Even in a world so different from his own, he adapted effortlessly. "Why do humans do this?" she asked softly. "Why travel so far to help someone you barely know?" Ethan paused, adjusting a control panel. "Because we believe in helping where we can. Every life matters. Every chance to make a difference counts. It is who we are." Lyria thought about her own people. Many had grown complacent, relying on tradition rather than action. Yet this human, a stranger, had brought hope where none existed. She felt a deep respect for him. Days passed and the palace was busy with preparations. Lyria trained harder than before, not just for walking, but for standing strong against her enemies. She practiced strategic movements, learned about alien diplomacy, and even observed Ethan repairing old palace machinery too. The next morning, the palace was unusually quiet. The two suns rose slowly over the floating islands, casting long golden shadows across the gardens. Princess Lyria stood at the balcony, her legs strong and steady now, though she still felt the faint ache of recent training. She watched the skies, her mind full of questions. The message from the neighboring star system had unsettled her. They were jealous of her recovery, suspicious of the human by her side. Ethan joined her, carrying a small tray of alien fruits. He offered her a piece, smiling as he watched her eyes brighten at the strange, sweet taste. "Are you ready for today?" he asked gently. Lyria nodded. "I must meet with the council. They will decide how to respond to the neighboring system's threats. And I will face them on my own legs this time." Ethan's smile widened. "Then let's show them what determination can do." The palace council chamber was vast, with walls made of translucent crystal. Council members sat in high seats, their faces serious. Many had not expected Lyria to walk again so soon. When she entered, supported by her newfound confidence rather than a walker, murmurs ran through the chamber. "Your Highness," the head counselor said, bowing deeply. "We did not think this possible. Your legs. You have recovered." Lyria lifted her chin. "I have recovered enough to stand for my kingdom and make decisions for our future. But I cannot do this alone." She gestured to Ethan, who stepped forward calmly. "This human has crossed the stars to help me. His knowledge, his skill, it is part of my strength now." Some council members frowned. Not all trusted humans, especially one who had arrived so suddenly. Whispers spread like wildfire. A few openly questioned, "Can we trust an outsider?" Ethan spoke up, his voice steady and calm. "I do not seek power or influence. I came only to help. Your princess is strong, intelligent, and capable. My role is to support her, not control her." Lyria smiled at him. "And that is why I trust him. Now we must focus on what matters, our safety and our people's future." The council began discussing the neighboring star system's threats. They had sent diplomats with harsh demands, claiming that humans had no place in alien courts and that any alliance with Earth would be a violation of interstellar treaties. Lyria listened carefully. Her mind worked quickly, analyzing every possibility. She could act alone, but Ethan's presence gave her a new perspective. Together they devised a plan. First, they would send a delegation of trusted advisors to negotiate, while secretly preparing the palace defenses. Humans had ways to strengthen technology and security in unexpected ways, and Ethan had already begun modifying the palace's energy shields. Later that day, as Ethan tested the shield enhancements, Lyria watched him closely. She marveled at how humans could see small problems and solve them quickly. Even in a world so different from his own, he adapted effortlessly. "Why do humans do this?" she asked softly. "Why travel so far to help someone you barely know?" Ethan paused, adjusting a control panel. "Because we believe in helping where we can. Every life matters. Every chance to make a difference counts. It is who we are." Lyria thought about her own people. Many had grown complacent, relying on tradition rather than action. Yet this human, a stranger, had brought hope where none existed. She felt a deep respect for him. Days passed, and the palace was busy with preparations. Lyria trained harder than before, not just for walking, but for standing strong against her enemies. She practiced strategic movements, learned about alien diplomacy, and even observed Ethan repairing old palace machinery to improve defenses. She realized that strength came from more than her legs. It came from knowledge, courage, and alliances. One evening, a scout arrived with news. The neighboring system's fleet was moving closer to the borders, but they had not yet attacked. Tension filled the palace. Lyria knew that the time for words was coming, but action would follow soon. Ethan and Lyria walked in the palace gardens, discussing their next steps. The air was filled with glowing flowers, and the soft hum of the life wave energy around the palace created a calm atmosphere. "They think we are weak," Lyria said quietly. "They do not see what we have become." Ethan nodded. "And that is their mistake. Humans have ways to change outcomes. We plan, adapt, and act. Your strength now is more than just your legs. It is your mind, your courage, and your heart." Lyria smiled, feeling determination bloom inside her. She had feared weakness, feared the limitations of her body. But now she understood that true strength came from persistence, collaboration, and trust. And she had found all three in this human who had crossed the stars to help her. That night, as the sun set and twin moons rose, Lyria stood on the balcony alone for a moment. She gazed at the distant horizon, where the enemy fleet might appear. Fear lingered, but it was tempered with confidence. She would face whatever came, not as a fragile princess, but as a leader reborn with human ingenuity by her side. Below, Ethan monitored communications, adjusting systems to detect any approaching ships. He had learned much about alien technology in a short time, and his human logic allowed him to spot weaknesses others missed. Suddenly, the sensors alerted him. Small ships were approaching the palace, faster than expected. He called Lyria immediately. "They are here," he said calmly, though his eyes were sharp. "We need to act." Lyria's heart pounded, but she stood tall. "Then let us show them that a princess who can walk again with the help of a human is not to be underestimated." As the alien ships appeared in the sky, the palace shimmered with energy shields. Lyria took a deep breath and walked forward, fully confident, her steps steady and firm. The council watched in awe. For the first time, they saw a princess not defined by her past weakness, but by her present courage. Ethan stayed by her side, ready to support her in any way needed. Together, human and princess, they prepared to face the challenge, proving that strength, ingenuity, and trust could change the course of any conflict, even across the stars. And so the stage was set. The enemy had arrived, but they had underestimated the determination of a princess reborn and the ingenuity of a human who believed that helping another could shape the future of a world, and perhaps the galaxy itself. The sky above the palace shimmered with the approaching enemy fleet. Small, fast ships glinted in the sunlight of the twin suns, moving in precise formation. Princess Lyria stood on the balcony, her legs steady and strong, feeling a surge of determination. The fear Xiao had once carried was gone. Now she had a purpose, and a human by her side who could see solutions where others saw danger. Ethan monitored the incoming ships, his fingers moving over the holographic control panel. Alien technology was advanced, but humans had a way of finding patterns others missed. He quickly identified weak points in the fleet's formation and shared his plan with Lyria. "They are fast, but their coordination has a flaw," Ethan explained. If we can split them into smaller groups, our defenses can handle them. We just need to guide them where we want. Lyria nodded. Then we act. Not with fear, but with precision. I will lead my people, and you will guide them. The palace, guards readied themselves, their energy weapons humming as shields activated. Alien drones hovered in formation, scanning the skies. The council watched anxiously, some still skeptical of relying on a human for strategy, but Lyria's confidence reassured them. As the first wave of enemy ships approached, Ethan activated a series of holographic decoys. The floating images of the palace shimmered and multiplied, confusing the attackers. Some ships fired at illusions, wasting energy and ammunition. Lyria saw her people gain courage. They were inspired by her strength, and by the human who had come to help. "Hold your lines," she shouted to the palace defenders. Her voice carried over the courtyard, steady and commanding. "We are not weak. We are prepared." Ethan manipulated the palace defenses with quick, precise adjustments. The shields responded to his commands, shifting energy to cover weak points while keeping pathways open for counterattacks. The enemy ships were fast, but the humans' ingenuity made them hesitate. One ship managed to slip past the decoys, heading directly for the palace gates. Lyria reacted instantly, signaling the palace archers. They fired a coordinated volley of energy, arrows guided by Ethan's adjustments to target the approaching ship's engines. With a bright flash, the enemy ship veered off course and exploded safely away from the palace. "See?" Ethan said, smiling slightly. "Small moves, big impact. We can do this." Lyria felt a rush of pride. Her legs carried her confidently, across the balcony, moving faster than she had in years. She realized that her mobility was now a tool, not just for herself, but for inspiring others. Her people followed her lead, fighting with renewed determination. The enemy fleet regrouped, larger ships moving to the front. Lyria and Ethan studied their patterns. They noticed the fleet relied heavily on predictable maneuvers. Ethan quickly devised a counter-strategy. "We can draw them into the narrow canyon behind the palace," he said. "Our energy shields will create a bottleneck. They won't have room to maneuver, and our defenses will be stronger." Lyria nodded, signaling the guards to begin the maneuver. Slowly, the palace ships and drones guided the enemy toward the canyon, using precise energy, pulses, and carefully timed movements. The enemy hesitated, then followed, unaware of the trap. The day after the battle, the palace was alive with preparation. Word had spread of the princess's courage and the human healer's ingenuity. Ambassadors from nearby systems arrived, curious to see the woman who had walked again and defended her people. Princess Lyria stood tall, her legs steady and strong, knowing that leadership required more than bravery. It required wisdom, strategy, and trust. Ethan was by her side, helping organize the palace defenses and reviewing communications. His presence reassured both the council and the visiting diplomats. Though some aliens were cautious of humans, Ethan's calm intelligence and problem-solving skills impressed them. A delegation from the neighboring star system requested an audience. They arrived in sleek silver ships, their ambassadors dressed in formal robes of deep blue and gold. Lyria greeted them on the palace, steps walking confidently without assistance. "Welcome," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You have come to speak. Let us hear your words." The lead ambassador bowed deeply. "Your Highness, we acknowledge your victory and the strength of your defenses. We also recognize the assistance of your human companion. It is unusual, but impressive." Lyria nodded. "Humans and aliens can work together. That is not unusual. It is practical. We value peace, but we are prepared for conflict if necessary." The ambassadors exchanged glances. Their leaders had expected to intimidate the princess, but instead they found someone confident, intelligent, and decisive. Ethan stepped forward. "Your ships are capable, and your fleet is strong. But battles are not won by size alone. Strategy, planning, and adaptability matter too. Today's events showed what can happen when we combine strength and ingenuity." The lead ambassador paused, clearly impressed. Your Highness, we underestimated your readiness and the humans' abilities. How did you prepare so quickly? Lyria smiled. I listened, I learned, and I acted. And I did not act alone. Humans bring knowledge and creativity that complements our own skills. That is how we succeeded. The delegation nodded slowly, realizing that diplomacy might now favor negotiation over conflict. Lyria continued, her tone calm but persuasive. Our kingdoms have a choice, she said. We can waste energy on fear and rivalry, or we can build alliances and share knowledge. My people have learned that strength comes from unity and innovation. I offer you the chance to join us in that path. The ambassadors hesitated, considering her words carefully. The council watched in silence, impressed by the princess's clarity and resolve. For the first time in many months, Lyria felt the full power of her recovery, not just in her legs, but in her voice, her mind, and her leadership. After several hours of discussion, the delegation agreed to a formal treaty. The terms were fair, emphasizing cooperation, trade, and mutual defense. Lyria's people celebrated quietly, aware that the princess had not only defended them, but had also secured their future. Later that evening, Lyria walked through the palace gardens with Ethan. The twin moons cast soft light over the glowing flowers, and the air was filled with the quiet hum of energy from the LifeWave systems Ethan had installed. You handled the negotiations brilliantly, Ethan said. You didn't rely on threats or force. You used reason, confidence, and strategy. That is true leadership. Lyria smiled. I learned from you, in more ways than one. You showed me that problems can be solved with logic, patience, and creativity, and that courage is not only in battle, it is in thinking clearly under pressure. Ethan chuckled softly. We all learn from each other. Humans have their ways, but every species has strengths. When we combine them, amazing things can happen. They walked in silence for a few moments, enjoying the calm after the tension. Lyria's thoughts turned to the future. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown challenges, but she felt ready. She had walked again, defended her palace, and negotiated peace. And she had learned that humans could be powerful allies, not through strength alone, but through ingenuity, patience, and courage. The next day, Lyria gathered her council. She announced new initiatives to strengthen the kingdom, advanced education programs, technological exchanges, and collaborative defense strategies. Humans and aliens would work together to improve life for everyone. Her people were inspired, motivated by the princess who had walked again and the human who had crossed stars to help her. As the weeks passed, trade and communication with neighboring systems improved. Diplomatic visits became routine, and the kingdom grew stronger and more prosperous. Lyria continued her training, walking and moving with confidence, but also studying strategy, science, and diplomacy. Ethan helped her at every step, sharing knowledge and ideas from Earth that had never reached this part of the galaxy. One afternoon, a group of young aliens watched Lyria practice with Ethan. She moved swiftly, showing them exercises to improve strength and balance. The children were amazed. This was a princess who had overcome weakness and was teaching others to do the same. You can do it, Lyria encouraged them. Step by step, with patience and practice, you can achieve more than you think. Strength is not only in your body but also in your mind and your heart. Ethan smiled as he watched her. The bond between human and princess had become a model for cooperation. Together they had faced weakness, danger, and doubt, and had turned them into lessons and opportunities. As night fell, Lyria stood on the balcony once more, looking at the stars. She thought of the battles, the negotiations, and the journey she had taken from fear to confidence. Her legs were strong, her mind was sharp, and her people trusted her. But she knew the galaxy still held surprises, and she would face them with courage. Ethan joined her, looking at the distant stars. The future is wide open, he said, and we are ready for it. Lyria nodded. Yes, together, humans and aliens can achieve more than any of us imagine. Today we defended our kingdom, tomorrow we build a better galaxy. And for the first time in her life, Lyria felt truly unstoppable. Not because she was a princess, not because she had a human by her side, but because she had learned to walk, think, and lead with courage, intelligence, and heart. The galaxy was vast, but she was ready. Step by step, she would face it all. The twin suns rose over the palace, bathing the floating islands in golden light. Princess Lyria stood on the balcony, her legs strong and steady. She had come far, from a princess who could barely walk to a leader who inspired her people. Around her, the kingdom buzzed with life, energy, and hope. Traders, diplomats, and travelers moved freely, drawn by the promise of progress and safety. Ethan approached, carrying a small device to monitor the city's energy fields. He had been by her side through everything, her recovery, the battles, and the negotiations. She looked at him and smiled. "Today is the day we begin something new," she said. "Not just for my kingdom, but for the galaxy." Ethan nodded. "Humans and aliens working together. That is what you have built here. It is stronger than walls or weapons. It is cooperation and trust." The council gathered in the main hall. Lyria addressed them with confidence, her voice clear and steady. "We have defended our kingdom, but now we must grow stronger through knowledge, diplomacy, and unity. Today we establish alliances with neighboring systems and open programs to share technology and culture. Our people will learn from others, and others will learn from us. Strength comes from collaboration, not fear." The council members listened, impressed by her clarity. They had seen her weakness once, but now they saw determination, intelligence, and courage. Some glanced at Ethan, who stood quietly behind, her realizing that humans had played a key role, not with domination, but with guidance and partnership. Later, Lyria walked through the palace training grounds. Her steps were confident, full of grace and purpose. Children and young warriors watched as she demonstrated exercises to improve strength, balance, and coordination. They mimicked her, learning that progress came from patience and persistence. "Do not fear failure," Lyria said. "Every step, even a small one, is a victory. Strength grows from trying, learning, and helping each other." Ethan watched, impressed. "You have transformed not just yourself, but your entire kingdom. Your people will remember this for generations." Lyria nodded. "And it is just the beginning. Together, humans and aliens can explore the stars, share ideas, and protect one another. The galaxy is vast, but we are not small when we unite." The palace received a message from the neighboring systems they had allied with. Ambassadors praised the kingdom's progress, offering support in trade, science, and defense. Lyria smiled. Her diplomacy had succeeded, but more importantly, it had shown that courage and intelligence were just as vital as armies and ships. That night, the palace glowed with celebration. People from across the kingdom gathered, sharing food, music, and stories. Lyria moved among them, walking confidently and speaking to her citizens. She felt the warmth of their trust, their admiration, and their hope. Ethan joined her, carrying a small holographic map of the stars. "Your kingdom is ready," he said. "We can expand communication, explore new systems, and ensure safety across your borders. The future is in your hands." Lyria looked at the stars reflected in the floating rivers below. She thought of the journey she had taken, the fear of weakness, the long months of training, the battles and the negotiations, and she thought of the human step